Welcome back. We have our special guest with us, wellness entrepreneur, Jessamyn Stanley.
Hey, thanks for having me, y'all. How's it going today?
How are you?
Fabulous. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good. I am doing my best to thrive in Donald Trump's America, and there are days when it is a struggle, but that is life, and I'm out here, I'm making it. You know what I mean? I hope the same for y'all.
Yeah. I mean,
take it day by day.
Day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama said, "It is what it is."
It is what it
That's
is.
what you know what? Exactly. That's exactly right. And Michelle said it.
Yeah, where are you right now, Jessamyn? We're in New York City. Where are you quarantining?
I'm based in Durham, North Carolina. So I am it's one of North Carolina's brightest blue spots, but it's definitely there's a vibration down here for sure.
That's amazing.
I feel you. So I went to college in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Okay.
You know Spartanburg?
Okay. Hell yeah. My family
Okay.
is from the North Carolina, South Carolina border. What, are you from the South? That's a very
So my dad was in the military.
Oh,
So
totally.
I was born in Germany, moved all over the place, but my parents are both from the South. So I feel like my roots are in the South, and then they live in Texas now. So I kind of claim Texas. So yeah.
See,
But I went to
like
school at Converse College.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, people think that North Carolina, South Carolina are the same thing unless they're from this area. And
Right.
and even with that, I'd go to the places that I know in South Carolina. So I'm not gonna front I've spent a lot of time in Spartanburg, but I mean,
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, it's the size of a teaspoon.
It's a thing.
And
Okay.
then we're all from Texas as well.
Yeah.
So we always seem to find one another.
Fine Texans,
y'all
fine
all from-
Southerners.
Yeah, are y'all from the same part of Texas?
No.
So I'm from East Texas.
Okay.
Adams West,
Mm-hmm.
and actually
And what is San Antonio?
South.
I would
East,
say
South?
Yeah,
East.
very interesting.
Southeast?
Southeast. Yeah.
Something like that.
So yeah, Adam and I met in college, and we went to junior college, university together.
Hell yeah.
Then we said, let's go to New York. Oh, and then Braden, who our co-host, who's not here today, he went to college with us, and we all moved to New York together. And then
I love that. And now y'all are here showcasing our community for the world.
Yeah.
I love that.
We
Y'all better go the fuck
together.
off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I
thank
just
you.
joined the clan, and I was like, hey,
That's
I'm
right.
here. Y'all got room for one more?
They're like, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, definitely.
You know you love me.
She's okay. She's good people. So, Jessamyn, tell us, how did you become Jessamyn? How did you get started? Tell us about yourself. We want to know everything.
Yes,
for our
give us
listeners.
all the tea.
I have always been just kind of a weird person. I've always been into things that other people are not really that into, and I definitely spent a lot of time alone as a child. I didn't really have friends until I was a little bit older, and when I made friends, that's when I learned about trying to fit into boxes, trying to be liked and accepted by other people. And so during my high school and college, I definitely struggled a lot with my body and with my identity overall. I mean, it's ironic that I'd be here talking to actual queer people about fucking because I feel like I've been in this constant state of evolution, from my coming out to trying to own my body and trying to just stand in what it means to really be me, regardless of what anyone else thinks of that. But when I was in graduate school, I was going through a period of pretty intense. I mean, I have a book, Everybody Yoga. I talk about all this in much more detail, so I'm not going to go into that much detail here. But basically, if you've been 23, you know what was up. It was who am I? What's going on? And
Where am I?
Literally, where am I? And
Right.
I don't know how I got to this place where I'm doing these things, and I don't know. So one of my really good friends at the time, she was obsessed with Bikram yoga. And she was like, oh my God, you should go to yoga. It's going to totally change your life. And I was just like, I'm not doing that shit, because I had actually tried yoga once when I was in high school and just absolutely hated it. It was one of the worst experiences. And so when she was come to yoga. I was like, absolutely not. But she convinced me because they had a Groupon pass running at the time. So I was
Girl.
like, it'll get you caught up at Groupon.
Very much that.
But I was like, maybe I'll get this pass. Maybe I go one time. That's fine. But I went, and I mean, it was a deeply alienating experience. Like, I was more often than not, the only fat person, usually the only Black person. And it was very much like, and it also seemed like everyone else had rehearsed it beforehand. And like, I was just showing up not knowing what to do.
No, I hate that. Not rehearsed.
And so I would get into these cycles of thought of like, I'm not good enough. Why did I even try to do this? Like, I should not have even showed up. And in Bikram yoga, you're facing mirrors. So I'm staring at myself in the mirror, which is another thing that I've like actively avoided for most of my life, is looking at myself in mirrors. And so I'm just looking at myself and I was like, okay, so you can spend this whole 90 minutes being pissed at yourself for not being different, or you could just try, and maybe you fall down. Maybe everyone in here is going to see you fall down. Maybe they're all going to know immediately that you don't know what you're doing. Maybe the teacher is going to see, oh my God, like, but you could still just try. And that small idea, it seems like a pretty small idea, but for me, it was really transformative, because I didn't realize how many parts of my life I wasn't trying in, where I wouldn't try at all. I would be like, I think I'm not going to be good at this, or I think I can't compete. So why even bother? And it really woke me up to how much of my life I was putting inside of boxes. And so what ended up happening is that I was very miserable in my current situation. And so I was like, I'm just going to leave grad school. Technically, I'm still on a leave of absence from grad school. And I was like, I'm just going to go, and I'm going to move to Durham, where I live now. And I'm just going to start over. And initially, I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have a job. And so I was really just focused on like trying to find housing. And I was like, had all my shit in my car, and my partner had this very tiny apartment, and we were like sharing a twin size bed for a while. And then during that time, while we were trying to get settled, a bunch of stuff happened. Like, I talk about it more in the book, but just people who I love very much passed away. And I found myself slipping back into the place that I'd been in before I started practicing yoga. And by this point, we'd moved into a little apartment, but I definitely couldn't afford to practice yoga in studios. And the only reason that I'd been able to afford it before is because I had eventually had a a work study at the studio, so that I could help clean the studios, but I could practice for free. But when I moved to Durham, I couldn't find any opportunities like that. And I was like, can I just practice yoga at home by myself? And it just got to be like, I found myself spiraling in such a way where I was like, I just got to do something. And I had my dad's old Pilates mat, and I would just push all the furniture out of this one corner of the room and roll out my mats. And I knew the Bikram sequence has very limited number of postures, but I knew a few of them, and it was like 8 poses that I felt comfortable practicing myself. And I just would do that, and it just became my medicine. And it's something that even to this day, I find myself retreating to yoga for the exact same reasons that I always have, is that I just need to take my medicine. Like if a doctor could prescribe it, they would have prescribed it for me. And so I was practicing, and I was sharing my practice on social media just because I wanted to feel like I was a part of a bigger community. And I had people reaching out to me from all over the world, like, come teach me, come teach me. And I was like, bitch, why do you need me to come teach you? Like, literally, there are thousands of yoga teachers. So I was like, right. I had no interest in being a yoga teacher. I would recommend teachers that I like and online resources that I was using. And still people would be like, come teach me, come teach me. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to training. But I couldn't afford to go. I'm in debt for a grad school degree that I haven't finished. So I was like, how am I gonna go to a yoga teacher training? And by this point, I had some press mentions, and my father, who up to this point has given nary a fuck about this whole thing. He was like, he told me that dropping out of grad school was the worst decision of my life. Like every day it was just like, when are you going back to grad school? Like, what is your plan? And he was like, yoga, what do you, I don't care about this. Like, what are you talking about? And so one day though, we were talking about it and he was like, well, your mom told me about this. I guess I'd been in, let's say it was People. I can't remember, but I'd been in some press thing that he respected. He was like, okay, People, I've heard of that. So he's like, well, what are you going to do about this? Are you going to become a teacher? And I was like, no, I can't really afford it, blah, blah. And then he was like, well, how much money does it cost? And I was like, $3,000. And he was like, okay, well, if we could help you find that money, would you go? Because it seems like this is something that you need to do. Aww. And I was like, if this bitch is saying that I need to do it, that's the universe. Because I cannot overstate, like my father does not care about social media. He does not care about yoga. But I really think of myself so much as like before that experience and after that experience, because after my training, I came to really understand why there need to be so many yoga teachers and really why everyone should teach to some degree, because there's this practice. It may not, the way that I understand it may not resonate for everybody. And for many people, it won't. It'll be too loud. It'll be too much profanity, too much farting, like whatever the thing is. I'm too fat. You know, there's all these different things.
Not farting.
It might. We can come back to it, but yes. But I was like, but it could reach one person. Right. And if I could help one person find compassion for themselves, even if it's just by like, I'm not really doing anything other than holding space for you to just be yourself. Even if that is the extent of it, then that feels like a worthwhile mission. And so everything from there, like being a wellness entrepreneur, is really just trying to reach every person who has asked me to teach them. And so I used to keep a literal list of all the places that people have asked me, but at this point I'm like, it's everywhere in the world. So just maintain that. And, you know, not everyone will come into a yoga class. And so that's the reason to write books and have podcasts and do different types of projects, because it is a practice that I think is much bigger than these postures. And ultimately, I think that if we all lead from compassion, and if we all can forgive ourselves, then we can live in a happier world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amen.
That was all very inspiring.
Did that answer your question?
I honestly got a little teared up on that. Something you say, I want to say this before. I know I asked the question, but for me, we have been in spaces so many times, something you said earlier about being probably the only Black person in the space. And we have had to, I think the reason that pressure is there is because we're always competing with what our ancestors have told us and what our elders have said, you have to be better than the people in the room. And so we're in a constant battle. We show up and it's like, that's why it seems like they rehearsed. Hell, they probably did. And we
literally.
They probably did, because their goal is like, they're after us as much as we need to be better than them. And it's that, to me, hit me in a place where it's like, it's so true. You show up and it's like, all right, I'm the only Black person in this room of white people. Cool. Or the only gay. And you know what? I need to, either they're going to want me to perform for them, or exactly. I need to step up and be as equal or better than them, so that way we can be on the same playing field. So that's very profound. I'm so glad you said that.
I feel that so deeply. And I just to add one thing there, I feel like even as I think probably one of the bigger things for me now as a fat practitioner is really standing in the fact that, like, I don't need to prove my presence as a practitioner. I think that there's something that happens where people see a fat teacher and they're like, what's she gonna do? How could you be teaching me something athletic, you know? And I think that I have a chip on my shoulder that more than anything, I just want to like fully acknowledge and be like, hey Chip, we're here together. Like, I've thought that I have to prove my identity, to prove myself, and we're just gonna let that be there. And then maybe over time can start releasing it, but I feel you.
It just goes to show you, though, it's like representation matters
so much. So much.
It really does. Like you see one person that looks like you, it's like great, perfect, wonderful. I know. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Jessamyn, I have to say, like, you are definitely very inspirational. I relate to you so much. I remember when your picture of you doing yoga poses started circulating social media, I was just like, who is this fierce woman? And how can I be just like her?
Yeah.
Like, no joke.
Man.
And
Totally.
so many things that you're saying I can relate to. Like, I struggled like with my weight my entire life, but I've also always been very active. I was a cheerleader. I did
totally
softball. You know, I would work out and I would still always be a big girl. Like, yeah. And I mean, like right now I got a little quarantine weight. I could do something right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, but everybody, you know, is kind of dealing with like whatever is happening for them at that time. And I've always said, I mean, like weight loss is not complicated. Like people look at me like, did you know that, like, do you do yoga for fitness? And I'll be like, bitch, you can lose weight. Literally, it's like caloric intake and exercise. But my thing is like, I love macaroni and cheese, and I don't feel like me and macaroni and cheese need to break up because I also enjoy exercise. Like my thing is like, I want to exercise so fucking hard and then hit the Golden Corral buffet like it has never seen before. So I'm just
we're eating macaroni and cheese tonight.
That's exactly right. That's what I like.
And that's my specialty too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Southern classic.
Classic.
It really is.
But no, on the serious though, like you've definitely been very inspirational, and like I go through ups and downs, but definitely you put me on a high and inspired me to like keep going, because I'm like, you know what, I can do this. I know I was a cheerleader. I played softball, and like I can't always put myself in a fat box, and I used to do that. Like I used to not wear shorts for years because I was like, my legs have too much cellulite and it's not cute, so you can't wear shorts, Ashley. But it's like, no, the fuck I can.
Literally.
And bitch, I know somebody want it.
That's exactly right. That's the thing about it. And like, it's so funny to me because we're coming into this age where like, I think that people are just being more honest about who they are sexually attracted to. Because I'm like, bitch, everybody has always wanted to fuck fat people. It's just the thing. Like everybody has.
Everybody wants to fuck that bitch.
Everybody does. And it's like, I think that society pushes so hard, like mainstream media pushes so hard this idea that like, that's disgusting. And it's, you know, you want to scare people away from sexualizing by being like, it's unhealthy and it's dangerous. And the reality is that we're just all out here enjoying ourselves and living our lives. And I do think that there's something, my thing is like, I don't know how you can take care of your body if you're not given the option to love your body, to really just like care about it. Because if you are thinking that you're like taking care of your body by exercising excessively and worrying about your diet, that's disordered eating and disordered thinking. It's not about taking care of your body. And I'm like, bitch, you can live your life and do whatever you want to do and still be fat. And like, you can go out and literally do anything at any point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the same thing that I think it happens with any marginalized body, that you're told that like, this is the box that you're allowed to be in. And if you want to step out of this box, then you're going to need to change something about what's happening in the box. But I'm just not here for that.
It's so true. And I mean, the people that put us in that box, it's like, you know how people say, you care what someone's doing behind the closed doors, or who you really care what my body look like you really care. Like you say, oh, well, I don't want you to be sick. Like the things that I've seen people say to Lizzo online, you really give a fuck what Lizzo's body is doing.
Right.
Like you care that she's twerking and it's like, so she's twerking and you're offended by that. Why? Because if you wouldn't be offended if it was Beyonce, whom I love. You wouldn't be offended if it's J-Lo, whom I love.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be offended if it was Britney Spears, if she could do that, whom I love. So like, if she could do that. So I'm definitely concerned about her Instagram.
Free Britney.
Yeah, free Britney. Yeah.
Oh, literally.
Yeah, free
the
Britney.
eyeliner, man. Oh, man.
But it's like, I would rather people the same way I would, right. I would rather people be honest and say, if you're racist or you're homophobic, say that. If you're fatphobic, just say that.
Just say that.
Don't try to put it around this whole like, oh, well, I don't want to see that on social media, but you wouldn't care if it was some of these skinny, honestly, white bitches at this point dancing around social media. So it's like, be clear about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to me. And what you said about Beyonce and J-Lo, I was thinking like, damn now, but I remember back when J-Lo first, when at that dress at maybe it was the Grammys with the green dress that was like 2 stars put together, and everybody has so much to say about her curves. And Beyonce, I think, has always had like somebody on her about the way that her body, she's always been like very thick. And I think that there is even I thought she did a really good job of talking about her own struggle with self-hatred in that the Homecoming documentary, when she was talking about how like she had dieted so hard to get back to her weight, her pre-baby weight, and that she was like, I wouldn't do that again. Like that was excessive.
I would never.
And it's like, why did she, man?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the cayenne pepper
diet.
Oh yeah, we
attempted.
Yeah, we were mad by the end of the day. I don't think we
lasted like maybe like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
You think I did?
You cheated.
I did cheat. I was sneaking off the McDonald's getting the chickens and
McDonald's, Terrell.
Not even like falling off.
And we'll be right back. I'm sorry, the producers are in my ear. I can't hear anything.
Not even a salad. You said I'm going all the way.
I'm so sorry. It's my interview question. But on a note, Jessamyn, you speak of letting go of fear, which is very, very important. How important do you feel that is with the current pandemic and everything that's going on, and not just the pandemic coronavirus, but the pandemic against people who are LGBT, people who are Black? You know, all three are trying to be silent. So how do you feel about that?
People who are indigenous, people who are, just like every kind of thing. If you are different, and I feel like we have so much power in the struggle. I feel like there is so much to be gained from what we have been trained to believe are negatives. Like every time that someone has made you feel bad, or every time that someone has actively oppressed you, every time that someone has slung a microaggression at you, the fact that you stay standing and can bear that scar and like are strong in the face of that shit, that is power. That is like, it's kind of a limitless power. And it definitely, I think, makes you more powerful than any force that could try to oppress you. And I mean, this coming from someone who sits in Cancerian emotional like waves all day, where I'm like, how do I feel? I don't know.
I'm a Cancer too.
And it's like, really?
Yeah,
Cancer's fun?
June 29th.
Okay, June 27th. June Cancer. That is okay. So you know what's good then.
I know. I'm tired of people posting memes about Cancer being sad. It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. You're like, oh, you're so sensitive. I'm sorry, I fucking have feelings. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
I'm like, look, Sagittarius and Aquarius. It's not my fault that you don't know about how to process your feelings. You got what are the other sun signs that are in the space? I'm just curious now.
It's a few of them that are like angry all the time. Sagittarius are always upset.
What is Leo? I'm a Leo.
Leo, okay, heard, fire ass. And what's going on in the middle? Scorpio, okay. So you are the vindictive, wild, crazy one. Got it. So, but I love this, y'all. Okay, so Cancer understands though that it's like you're just like feeling a lot of different things, and it'll feel like the fear is too much, like it's too big. And I think that just allowing that fear to be there, especially when there's just so much uncertainty. And like, I actually think that the uncertainty is what is scarier than anything else. It's like, wow, I don't know about y'all, but I had no idea this is what October 2020 was going to look like. Like, so I'm like, at this point, there has to be a place where we're just accepting that uncertainty is that God has changed, that everything, there's never anything that is certain. And so if we can like just sit in that and be like, okay, so I don't know what's coming next. I can't predict anything. The whole thing could come crashing down tomorrow. Okay. It's like you just accept it and it's like, okay. But I mean, I do think that people are getting buck wild now, like in terms of the way that tribalism is like really starting to become more apparent. I do think that we're in a time where like, excuse me, it's understandable to be genuinely concerned for your safety. And I mean, to that, I'm just like, I take comfort in the fact that I'm not in it alone, and holding my loved ones as close as I can to me and trying to tell them that I love them when I can, and really enjoy the smiling when I can, and try to get outside as much as possible, and really just try to like let that be the through line, because ultimately it's going to get a lot worse before it can get better, if it's getting better.
I have said that multiple times.
You know, it's like it's just happening and it's fine.
Yeah, actually, Jessamyn, I actually was just reminding me. So today I was reading on Condé Nast, and there literally is a site. It's written by a Black woman, which is great, like an article, but it's telling you the safe places for Black people to be right now. Yeah. And it's literally like the Green Book, and it's literally like, these are places that are safe to be. These are places that may not be safe to be at this time. And I'm just like, wait, we're in that place? Like
2020.
You're like, wait a minute now.
Like,
wait a minute. So are y'all in New York or LA? Where y'all?
New York.
New York. That's right. I mean, honestly, I don't know where they were doing this Nouveau Green Book, but I mean, I'm curious if they got a Durham version, because honestly, like, shit is crazy. Like, people are, one thing I've always appreciated about the South, though, is that I think there's so much less coding to the language. Like, people are just, if people are going to be racist, they're just going to be racist, and they're not trying to convince you otherwise. But especially in New York, that shit is coded as fuck. It's like, people will be like, I couldn't be racist. What are you talking about? And I think also there's a lot of like, I mean, particularly within, I think that the worst transphobia is happening in the queer community. So I'm like, it's all of us needing to really, it's got to be all of us taking care of each other. And I think that until we see that if one person is aching, then everybody is aching, until we can really stand in that, I don't know how it's going to get better.
I mean, that's part of the issue. 100%.
I just want to touch on your bi-weekly podcast that you have.
Oh, yes.
And it is
fellow podcaster.
And it's a cannabis-infused advice podcast.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
We over here love the 420.
Right.
Hell yeah. It's a necessity. I don't know how people are not doing that these days, honestly. I'm like, how are you surviving the pandemic without weed? I mean,
facts.
Dear Jessamyn started because I've gotten messages from people asking questions about my lifestyle, about especially things that I guess are a little bit less mainstream, polyamory being one of them. But last year, I was in a scooter accident where both of my partners showed up for me and were taking care of me and finding ways to communicate with each other about it. And it was really inspiring to me. And so I showed it on my social, and I got so many questions from people being like, just like asking questions about polyamory and like what it is, and had more questions about their own lives that obviously like they didn't have anyone that they felt like they could talk to about it. And I started just responding to them via DM, via Instagram story. But then I was like, we've got to do so, because obviously there are a lot of people that feel this way. And so the show bloomed from there. And it is me and one of my partners, who is also my producer, and we answer questions that we get from people about polyamory. And so the first season has been about polyamory, but it's really about understanding that the people that yoga, this process of like learning about yourself and compassion, that we're really doing that through other people all the time. And that I've always felt like the most important yoga teachers in my life are my partners, because they hold up a mirror wherein I have to see myself. And so it's really about exploring this idea of the yoga of everyday life. And our last episode of the season actually came out today, or our last we do 2 episodes for each topic. And so the first episode of our last topic of this season came out today. And the topic is about, excuse me, coming out to your parents and coming out as poly more specifically. And it's interesting because it is, I mean, it's National Coming Out Day was the other day, and so it's like it's interesting to reflect on all of that now. But the next season is about interracial relationships, and because my partner that I do the show with is white, and we are constantly having, oh my goodness, we are learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about my identity as a Black person from being in partnership with a white person. And I think that it's something that I wish more people talked about, and that I do think is a huge part of understanding the self. And so we're like super stoked to just like dive into this whole other realm.
I can't wait to listen. Actually.
Yes.
That's so amazing.
Hell yeah.
You're such an inspiration. I am so glad that you were able to join us today.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Like,
Truly,
this has been a marvelous Kiki.
Yeah.
And inspirational and relatable. And I really feel like it's going to touch people's hearts listening to this episode.
Truly. Well, I look forward to the next time that I'm looking at y'all. It's on TV and I'm like, oh shit. Okay. So we're just all friends. Okay, cool.
Okay. Right. You know,
okay. And come back and visit us anytime. Like, listen, you're always welcome at this table. We want to hear more. I'm sure we'll probably talk more after November 3rd.
Peace and blessings until then.
Together to leave the country or whatever we're doing. We'll talk.
Literally. We can strategize on the next move.
Yeah, right.
We'll see how that goes. Y'all are such a blessing, really. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Send you so much love.
Same.
Be safe
out there.
Safe. And welcome back. We have the co-host of Let's Go There with Shira and Ryan, and you can check that out on Channel Q on radio.com. Ryan Mitchell, welcome to Private Podcast.
Hey, Ryan.
What up, everyone? Hi, thank you for having me. This is so cool. I don't actually do a lot of podcasts, so I appreciate you for extending the invite.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Ryan, so where are you quarantining at, or where are you located?
So I'm in LA, and I'm in like Koreatown, but I don't know who listens to this. So I'm not giving exact address.
I stayed in that area. Me and Ashley both did.
I would kill for some Korean barbecue right now. Do you like have that all the time?
No. Okay. So I've only had Korean barbecue once. And to be honest, it's wild. So when I moved here from Nashville, if you got food from a plaza, that meant like, oh, you're eating at low-key like a place that's probably not the cleanest. But out here it's completely different, where like the dirtier the spot, the better the food, right? It's kind of like and so for me, I'm still getting used to that. But for me, I think I eat a lot of Thai food. Like Thai food is like my life.
I love Thai food.
Yeah, Thai food's delicious.
Ashley and I ate at some Korean barbecue spot in, I don't even know, it was some like plaza, some little strip mall. It was next to like a tire changing place.
Next to like a tax place.
Yeah. And that shit was fire.
So good.
It was so
Dumped
good.
ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we'll all go once this is all crazy and over.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next point. We're definitely going to be meeting up and doing some brunches and going to some Korean barbecue and I don't know, smoking a blunt. I don't know, but
yes, always, please.
I love all of that. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to be, and just everything. We want to hear the tea.
We want to hear all the tea.
I mean, I'm really not that interesting. But since no, so like I said, I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. I've been in Los Angeles for going on 6 years now, which is wild. And when I first moved out here, I was working in the fashion world. I was like doing a lot of fashion PR. I was in New York for a while doing a lot of fashion PR for like designers like Betsy, oh my God, I'm like Michael Kors and Betsy Johnson.
Like Ross.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
One of the Betsy's.
But Betsy Johnson. Yeah, Betsy Johnson. I'm like actually high right now, but it was for it was literally for like their New York Fashion Week event planning stuff that I would do a lot of times. And then I moved out here and I was working for a fashion magazine while also still serving and busting, like, and just hustling. And then I started diving into kind of like social media work, where that ended up leading me to being on camera, and I was like fighting that because I just wasn't used to seeing anyone that looked like me. And then two, just like, I don't know, I think people just were like, oh, you have this Southern charm and like, you're just good on camera, so get on there and do that. And so I started to do it, but then I was just fighting it. And then I just ended up kind of building my own following somehow just by being online, and also working with like YouTubers and like them collaborating with them in spaces. And like I just somehow fell into the radio space with my co-host Shira Lazar, who you've all had on, where we were working together. And yeah, we just ended up kind of bonding and like having a relationship and a friendship. And we ended up getting this opportunity to do a radio show on the first queer nationally syndicated station ever. And it was an opportunity where we do the afternoon drive. And so a lot of the stuff that I've kind of just done throughout my career has been a little bit of everything, so I can feel well-rounded. But then also I've just never really said no to really good opportunities that have been presented to me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first moved to New York, it was like, if somebody offers you something, say yes.
Yes.
It don't matter. Just say yes. Go. If you don't like it, you can leave.
No, for sure. Yeah, saying yes is
advice sometimes with weed, and it wasn't good. And we had to do what we had to do by trailing the streets to get 10 dime bags. And, you know, it was really stressful.
Now, look, I ain't going on the street just asking folks for random.
Nobody needs to hear about
onwards and upwards. But listen, it wasn't us. Listen, let me clarify about that. We were not crawling the streets looking for weed. I might have been going to the grocery store.
No, wait. We're going to cut this conversation.
So anyway,
we got the weed in there.
What have I got myself into?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
No, but I like what you were saying about, like, you know, creating, like, you created yourself from the bottom. Now you're here, and it's great because people need to see that. And we were speaking with our guests before about representation, how somebody somewhere, some little person's gonna see you doing your thing and be like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. And I think it's just a wonderful, beautiful thing that is now, you know, growing, and people, it's all about representation. We need to
it matters.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, yeah, I think it matters a ton for me, especially because I guess how I figured or saw myself in the future, I never would be thinking that I'd be sitting here behind a mic, like, or being this person that talks about things that matter, from politics to, you know, giving my opinion about pop culture. I just never thought about that stuff, right? I used to get in trouble for talking too much in school. I would be told that I that's never going to be for me, right? And then as someone who is a fat Black queer person who stands firmly in believing and being authentic, that would have never been, there would have never been a job for me. And so this sense in this space where I feel like now I've been given this responsibility where I want to show up for people and show up for myself in ways and be comfortable with taking up space, right? Like not being like feeling like I'm too small to take up space. Because to be honest, a lot of this really can bring up imposter syndrome for me. And like, sometimes I'm like, do I deserve it? Do I deserve to be in these spaces where I can be amplified? I don't know, but I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing, right?
You deserve a seat at the table.
Very that.
We all do. We all do.
100. And I think we've suffered from that in the past. I know I have, especially like when we were getting to host like LA Pride and stuff like that. It was like, what are we doing here? Like, who cares what we have to say, you know? So of course that demon is always in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, thank you for that. We're going to just like put that in a box.
Bury that down.
But we're here and we're gonna make it work.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
I know somebody listening.
Yeah.
I know somebody listening. We know
somebody like it. Somebody want it.
I hope so. I really do hope so.
I really hope. It's cuffing season, you know?
It is cuffing season. And Valentine's Day, I really would like someone to give me a sugar cookie.
I mean, same. We all single up here. We are part of the Single Lovers Club.
We're going to figure that out. So listen, Ryan, you talk about pop culture, you talk about politics and everything going on. So as you know, this is a huge year for us as Americans. There's going to be some stupid shit happening November 3rd. I hope it's great shit, but it looks to be stupid so far. So what are your thoughts on everything going on? Let's kind of back up. What were your thoughts on the first presidential debate between the person in the White House now and Vice President Joe Biden?
I think for me, when I was watching it, I was engulfed in like anxiety. I just didn't know what I was watching. I thought that if you think about the beginning of the election season, when we had all of these kind of diverse candidates running to be Democratic presidential nominee, right? I think about now how we literally see two old white men arguing, and one is just telling lies, and one is just like interrupting every 5 seconds, and the other one is trying to get their point across. But then also I feel like he is and I'm talking about Joe Biden. He was trying to calculate everything that was happening. And so for me, it was a lot. It was really a lot. And I think right now we're in such a crucial time where if you're not even, politically engaged or trying to learn about what's happening around you, it feels kind of like, it's kind of a slap in the face, right? I think if November 4th happens and we get the wrong news, all of this, what we've seen, I'm just going to stamp as performative activism, where everyone was just showing up and trying to make a lot of noise, but no one actually put it where their noise would count. And so my fingers are crossed. I talk about this all the time with my friends, being like, we should be doing like a group Zoom chat the night of and just like kind of have each other. So just in case the news breaks where everything and all hell breaks loose, we at least can come together as a community. And I feel like that's super important for everyone that is like listening to do that. Cause I think a lot of people are anxious about what is November 3rd going to look like? What is November 4th going to look like the next day,
Yeah. Well, so
that's very important.
With that, do you feel like you felt a little bit at ease when you saw the vice presidential debate between Kamala Harris and the current person in the White House, person who's serving under him? How do you? I try not to say him because it's kind of like Voldemort.
Second command.
I'm just really. I feel like if I say it too many times, they'll appear. And
we don't have time.
It's very Whoopi Goldberg when she doesn't say Trump's name on the video.
That was the honor that you said that. Honestly, I can burst into tears because I love Whoopi Goldberg. You have no idea. You honestly have no idea. I can't take it.
Yeah.
I love that because I'm obsessed with her as well. But I think to answer your question, I thought it was way better, but I also kind of have to say that, a lot of people were critiquing it as being like it was boring, but I think it obviously was boring compared to what we had just witnessed.
Right.
And Kamala Harris was so on point. I actually was such a fan of hers when she was actually running for president, and I really enjoyed what she was bringing to the table. And even, she had to play it cool. And I was talking to the Washington Post earlier that day, and they were telling me that her team was like trying to make sure that she doesn't get stereotyped as the aggressive, angry Black woman, right? And it sucks that she even has to go through that and think about that in that process. But I thought she handled herself so classy and very still had so much authority behind what she was saying. And it did feel better because I think Kamala Harris is able to articulate things a lot better, and she's a great storyteller. But to be honest, at the end of the day, I still don't know what to expect. Like, I think I'm just kind of sitting in a gray area where I'm just hoping for the best. And I think politics is just very overwhelming for a lot of people, and especially the people around me. And I'm just hoping, and I'm like praying that people don't get so overwhelmed that they tune out and they still show up. And I think numbers are kind of showing that with like early voting. We're starting to see that being 10 times more than 2016.
Yeah,
exactly. A friend of mine just went to early vote today, first day of early voting in Texas, and he had to wait over 2 hours.
Wow.
There were some in places waiting over 11 hours.
Yeah, in like Virginia.
Yeah, they went there because the polling places opened at 6, and so they got there at 4, And earlier they were like, we're still here. They were like, and then we have to watch out also. There's been reports in California. What do you think about the reports that there's been fake ballot boxes in California from Republicans sending out fake ballot boxes in like highly Democratic areas where they know the Democrats are more than likely going to be voting for Joe and Kamala ticket? How do you feel about that?
I think that's the scariest thing. I have my mail-in ballot sitting right here next to me, waiting to be filled out. And I'm so nervous. And I was already a little worried before because of all the news that was happening with the USPS and also just the mail-in ballot and all these things. Like, I've always done mail-in ballots. Ever since I moved here, I've always done it. And I normally fill it out and then I'll just actually go on election day and turn it in to a polling place. Like, that's just for me being like, I got it. And then also I get like an actual sticker there as well.
Right.
But it was, to hear that news and to see that happening, one, is not a shock because voter suppression is happening everywhere in this country. And we're already seeing it, like you mentioned, in Virginia. We're seeing it in Georgia. We're probably going to see it in Texas. We're going to most definitely see it in places where people of color are the large majority. And that's just what happens, unfortunately. And I think for me, that made me even more worried that it's happening here in our backyard. Right. And it's happening here in a place where people deem California to be this blue state when, honey, if only they knew, if you go down there to Orange County, they got the red hats just waiting.
Right. Girl, same with New York. You think it's a blue state, but if you cross up just maybe an hour up north, it's MAGA country.
It for sure is.
Good point.
Did you see the Blackish episode that they had about like the voting and everything?
So I didn't watch it. No, I didn't watch it because, to be honest, if no shade, but like I love Blackish sometimes, but like I have to be in the mood to watch it, and I just haven't really been catching up with it. Like I watch so much other television where that just literally.
I can agree with that. That's we all watch Blackish, but usually the episodes will rack up on our DVR, and then we'll like binge them.
Binge it, yes. It's
it's better to binge.
Yes, I agree.
That'll carry it through.
Right.
We gotta have something to eat.
Right. Probably some mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Cornbread.
Yes. Y'all eat like that? Invite me over.
Well, we be cooking. From the South. Everything is seasoned.
Yes, I do know, and I miss that.
Yeah, it's
not salt and pepper to taste.
It's great, but
speaking of salt and pepper to taste, Pete Buttigieg is out there.
Good segue. Come on, segue.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's out there speaking the truth, spilling all the tea, just scalping Fox News pundits. Just
he really is.
God,
my wig.
It's so great to see, and like I'm not gonna lie. In the beginning, I was like, I could vote for him. There are a couple things I was like, no, I don't know. But like, for the most part, I liked what he had to say. And then especially now seeing after he's on Fox News, and I was just like, all right.
Just laying everything out.
Yeah, laying it all out there. And he's like the biggest asset, I think, that Joe and Kamala have.
He is. I would agree with you there where he's like turning out to be like their biggest surrogate. But in the beginning, I was so conflicted with him. I was like, oh, this is just another white gay.
Yeah.
Not even really wanting to even showcase his queerness or even be adjacent to queerness, to be quite honest.
Right,
so I was actually very critical of him during his time, but I've always loved how intelligent he was and like also charming. But if you can't figure out, you're like, 10,000 person town in South Bend, Indiana, where you're having Black issues, then how am I expecting you to handle systemic racism in this entire country? I don't know, sis. Sorry.
Well,
I mean, that was my issue. I was just like, not for me.
I just liked how eloquent he was.
Oh, for sure. He's really good at
some people are good at what he's doing. I just think it's very interesting. And I was discussing it with the team, with you guys the other night. It's very interesting that right now we have a bunch of white people speaking about Black issues. And if they don't sit their white asses down, because listen, we want allies, but at the same time, I need you to like, I just don't like anyone deciding the future just as much as women don't want men deciding what to do with their bodies. I really am uncomfortable, and that's the one thing I took from the person who's in the White House and, Joe Biden speaking the other night. They were both talking about Black issues, and I was like,
Honestly, I'm not feeling any. I mean, obviously not from that person, but from Joe Biden too. I was just like, I mean, honestly, y'all are just two old white men just talking about things that you don't understand at all, and you're trying to say what you think everybody wants to hear, but you so clearly don't actually care or know.
Yeah, and I have to agree. Like, I think a lot of people feel this way where, like, obviously Joe Biden wasn't their number one pick. But I think we're also in a space, and I think he strategically picked, like, a Kamala to be his VP because it makes sense.
Smart.
Like, she would
he kept his word.
Right. And then also, like, I think we're just in a space right now that I just hope people ain't writing in Kanye West on the ballot because he's on
good Lord.
And
I hope not.
And I just don't have time
our next hot topic.
Right, because I was like, I showed Darrell the other day, I was like, look at this fool. What are you doing? Like, could somebody please get Kanye? Somebody please just like, baby, what is you doing? Oh no. Sit down.
Yeah.
Drink your juice, Shelby. Drink your juice or something, because I can't. Like, this is not what we need.
Well, unfortunately, racist people look to people like Kanye, and they look to people like Stacey Dash, and they look to people like Candace Owens, and they say, oh, look, here are these Black people saying this, so, because they need a reason to okay their racist ways. And I think it's very upsetting that those people that I named can't see that, like, they're wrong, and they can't see that they're hurting the cause. It's very upsetting. It's even more upsetting that people from the rap community have stated, like Chance the Rapper, for instance, who has a out and proud brother. I don't understand why he's doing this, but he's like, oh, Kanye would be great to go for. So that to me is very, very weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's really, I mean, it's honestly, it's the worst, especially when I remember being like a fan of Kanye, and to see kind of where he is now, I would have never imagined. But to be honest, like at this point, I'm okay with like being like, I will never listen to his music again, or, you know, especially when he started doing Sunday service, the Kojic inside of me was like, no, thank you. I'm not playing with that.
Same.
But I think, you know, seeing these Black folks kind of come out as Republicans or Black Republicans, it's interesting when you talk about like being your proximity to whiteness, and you feel like that is where you're supposed to be, right? And I think even Lovecraft Country, I don't know if you guys watch it on HBO, but it's a great
we are all caught up. Yes,
it's such a great show at illustrating, especially with the character Ruby, how that is also like, in spite of all of these monsters and everything around, how white supremacy and whiteness can be the biggest, scariest creature in the world. And like, because you want to not have to deal with like, you know, the trials and are the being what it's called, quote unquote, being a Black person in this country, you rather run towards whiteness or agree with whiteness in any form of any shape and just forget it, because you want an easy lifestyle. You want to be able to smooth and coast. That's what we saw with Omarosa until she got kicked to the curb and she wanted to be Black again.
She had to check her skin at the door.
On it.
I mean, Candace Owens, they didn't even invite her to the Republican National Convention, so they don't even see her.
They sure didn't.
It's such an embarrassment. I'm like, are you embarrassed yet? Yeah. Are you not embarrassed yet?
Like, but if they're not embarrassed for it's like, if they're not embarrassed for themselves, then why should we be embarrassed for them? Like,
I guess, yeah. It's just like, go ahead and do you, boo. I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and you've already mentioned Whoopi Goldberg, who's one of our favorites. So in spirit of the View, I do want to do a rapid fire question round with you today.
Yes, I'm so
okay. I'm going to give you a list of things, and you just give me your thoughts on it as quick as you can. Okay. All right. First up, the SCOTUS decision. How do you feel?
Of Amy? Mm-hmm. No better Amy's, and they're not white.
Perfect. Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez. How do you feel?
Oh, fuck him, and he needs to be locked up.
Absolutely.
Preach.
Yeah. Cardi B and Offset. How do you feel?
You know what? I'm happy that she got a new car, and I hope she got some birthday dick, but please don't get back with him.
Oh,
100. AOC. How do you feel?
Oh, I love her. I think she's great, but I sometimes worry that when you reach a certain status or a certain follower count and you're in the mainstream as like the one person of color, that it doesn't allow for other voices who are also fighting to get the same amount of attention that she would get. Hopefully that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
All right.
Well
the
said.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Denise drama, how do you feel?
Oh my God, Denise is lying. I was team Denise at first, but that bitch is lying.
She's definitely lying.
And Garcelle slayed her first season, and I love all the white women.
Absolutely.
I also really love Sutton too. I know people felt a certain way about Sutton, but I stan Sutton.
Yeah, and she grew on me. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
She's great. In the beginning, I was not a fan.
I know, like I wasn't here because she was like crying at the drop of the hat, but she's
right. And she's like, who's Fenty? I'm like, okay.
I do hear that they have an Asian housewife coming next season who is ready to snatch everybody's wigs. That's a little bit of tea you heard from me, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
Real Housewives of Atlanta and Nene Leakes departure. How do you feel?
Oh my God, it was time for Nene to go, but I'm sad to see her go. But it was most definitely time for her to go because I think she didn't want to be there, but she needs to pay her bills. And so that's the reason why she was crying on Tamron Hall's show, because she needs to come back.
Hello.
Real Housewives of Potomac, Candace and Monique's fight. How do you feel, and how do you feel about the other women like kind of choosing their sides in this?
Oh my God, that's a whole hour.
Right.
But you know what? I'm going to give you a little bit longer time to answer because that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one, I am so over Giselle, Wendy, and Robin. They are the worst. I really feel bad for Candace, and I also really feel bad for Monique. But Monique she has no remorse, in all honesty, even though at any point, if someone is really irritating you, I get it, but that never means that you should be throwing hands. And also when she didn't do anything, I think Monique just really wanted to fight.
Yeah.
He was really in a mood to just box.
Yes.
But I'm hoping that, especially after watching this last episode, I'm hoping that it doesn't get as far as like really being pressing charges. Like I'm hoping that's just the drama of it all. Because I don't think Monique does not need that, and she is actually really, really good. And I don't want her to leave the show because of it.
Right.
I hear that.
Because that
And also, Robin need to pay her damn bills and stop playing tax fraud and shit.
She did, because she's deep in that. I don't know if kind of backing up to Atlanta real quick. What do you think about the rumor about the coke happening with the group of girls and then they're having sex with a stripper? And tell me.
It's delicious. Okay, so and I can't wait. Actually, one of my friends is one of the new cast members. Her name is LaToya. LaToya is a friend of mine, and so she's one of like the new cast members. But I'm interested to seeing that play out because obviously, if it is, rumors were that it was Portia and Tanya. If it is Portia, girl, we knew that, and you always munching on the cat anyway, so that's not really shocker. Tanya, whatever her name is, I'm actually shocked because I thought she was married, but things happened, and the stripper said he didn't do it, but who knows?
I just hope it doesn't diminish all the work that Portia Williams has done in the name of her grandfather, Jose Williams, and everything she's been arrested more times than the people who killed Breonna Taylor. So it's very upsetting. So I hope that doesn't diminish that.
I mean, it's just sex.
Yeah, it's just
right.
It'll look good. I have two more for you before we go.
Single now.
Right, that's true too. She's
single.
not. She's no longer eating the hot dog.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because no one cares about Dennis. He's
and
disgusting.
My ring light went out. I'm sorry. That's why I'm over here getting.
Me. I was gonna like. It's very moody and just like.
I love to see it. So two more for you. One of them, Tommy Lahren. How do you feel about her?
Ooh.
I don't know that mayonnaise. Move on.
There you go.
Okay.
That's that okay. Shit.
And then the last question, something really fun. How do you feel about the recent verses that's been going on? And what was your feelings on Brandy and Monica? Do you feel like they resolved anything in the end?
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so happy you asked. I've only enjoyed the women, to be quite honest. Like the guys are all boring in my opinion. They don't really do anything. And except for like Teddy Riley and like Babyface, like that was just uncles being uncles. And so that was really nice. But I loved Brandy and Monica. I felt like they haven't spoken to each other in years and they decided to come back. And it was giving very like, oh, I haven't seen you in 12 years, awkward energy. And Brandy's already very awkward. And I think a lot of her jokes don't land because she is awkward. And I just love that about her. But I'm hoping they have I'm hoping they've like come together and like they're all good at this point because Gladys and Patty told them they had to get together. So I mean, at this point, the law is law.
That is very true. Well, Ryan, thank you very much.
Thank you for playing.
Thank you for playing the game because that is how we do it here. We love to like get the tea on everything that's going on in Hollywood when we can. You have to come back and visit us. Please.
Yes.
Oh, I would love to. Whenever you want me back on, I hope I didn't ruin everything.
Absolutely.
Ruin what?
Oh, there's something I wanted to ask.
No,
because it's spooky season. So I don't know if you're into Halloween. I feel like you probably are.
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
I am about to start binging Halloween Town, because that's just my Disney.
Oh, I love Halloween Town.
I will discuss with you later. You know what? I'm going to talk to you after the end of this.
Just get my number. It's cool.
I'm going to get your number. We're going to get it because I can't stand what they do with Halloween Town by the fourth one, but we'll talk about that.
Right. But I just wanted to ask, what's your favorite scary movie?
Okay, so, I mean, Halloween Town is really high up there, but to be quite honest, I've never been trick-or-treating. And I only started dressing up when I was like in college and I was going to parties and I'm the worst at costumes because so honey, I would be at Hallelujah night on October 31st.
I'm a PK, so I know.
Right. And so, but now, I mean, I will say the most recent, my favorite scary movie, The Conjuring, the first one.
Ooh.
That shook me to the core.
Shook me too.
You're my baby because listen, I was in the front of the theater, shaking.
I was scared.
I don't get it.
It was wild.
Unnerved.
It was wild.
From start to finish, I was unnerved.
And I went to the midnight viewing of that with a friend of mine who wanted me to go because they knew I'm a scary movie person, but it has to be the right scary movie. So like I'm about to watch that new Netflix show, the Bly Manor or whatever.
Oh, we started watching that last night.
I'm gonna start watching it, and like even that feels a little intense, but it'll be fun. It'll most definitely be a good time.
Yeah,
it'll be fun. Check it out. Check that out.
Y'all are
thank you so much for joining us.
I hate you so much.
I
love it. You have to come back.
Yeah,
I would love to. Y'all are fabulous. Y'all are wonderful.
Yes.
And I just want to say I'm so proud of what y'all are what y'all have created and what y'all are creating. And I can't wait to come back when it's like 50,000 episodes in the making.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't wait.
I'm
a fan. I'm a new fan.
Yes, and have us on the Shira and Ryan show, okay?
Oh yeah, come on. We can do that. We can make that happen. I ain't nothing.
Yeah, we'd love to because we can spill tea and get it popping. I have to talk to you more about Denise because I love
Denise.
Denise, listen. I ride hard for Denise Ryan. You don't understand. I ride hard for her, but she lied.
Lied.
And Lisa Rinna, I'm mad at too because Denise was looking for a friend and Lisa Rinna was looking for a castmate. And I need.
Yeah, I'm here for a check. I ain't trying to be friends.
They need to figure that out because that's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, Lisa had nothing else going on, so she was doing what the show. And to be honest, the show really wouldn't have moved if Lisa didn't create that drama, right?
It's true. It's true.
From Munchausen to Munching on Brandy, Lisa Rinna has saved Beverly Hills Housewives.
All right, and on that note,
and that's how you do it. Thank you. We love you, and we can't wait to talk to you more soon.
I love you all. Y'all are wonderful.
Oh, we love it.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Out there.
Okay,
Bye.
so it's gonna be the awkward moment where I'm finding the buy button on my Zoom.
Right.